Psst, check this out.
Hey there, welcome to another episode of the Back Channel. In today's episode, I want to describe an experience that I had with a founder who's getting ready to kick off his fundraise and basically do an episode to say, follow this founder's example. This guy is leading with some of the best practices out there. And when I see someone doing it the right way, I just get excited. I'm like, I wish more founders would do it. Obviously, I talk a lot about getting to calendar density. Investors will text me on the side and be like, man, there's one founder who's doing it really well. Look at all the meetings that he's scheduled. And that can be helpful to hear about. Just saying, oh my God, you got to calendar density. That's what you should be doing. Telling everyone you should get to calendar density. Well, there's one thing that I've learned from doing years of workshops where a lot of the punchline was, and so how do we get this done? Well, the secret is calendar density. I used to do this workshop, or I still do this workshop called Fundraising Unlocked, where I start from the beginning. I talk about investor psychology, founder psychology, process, narrative, etc. And at the end, the punchline used to be, get to calendar density. It is one of the best goals to get you to a fundraise that has a higher likelihood of succeeding. And people would be nodding along and getting super excited. And then they'd be like, after logging off the event, they're like, calendar density. Okay, so how do I get there? One thing I learned running my last venture-backed startup is your lawyers really matter. Some founders like to glaze over this decision, but don't do that. It's really important. Last time I used Gunderson Detmer, and I definitely do it again. They weren't just transactional, they really felt like they were part of a team. There's a legal perspective on almost everything you're doing at a startup, so they're involved in everything from fundraising to equity comp to hiring to commercial contracts, really everything. And Gunderson is really built for the early stage. They work with more startups and VC firms than anyone else, over 3,500 companies, 500 funds, and they've been ranked the top VC law firm for over a decade. So if you're raising, scaling, or just trying not to mess up that first safe when you go out fundraising, Gunderson Detmer can help you navigate it all so you can focus on what really matters, which is building a great business, growing that great business. So if you'd like to learn more about Gunderson Detmer, check out gunder.com. So I ended up having to add a few other slides or points to at least describe, okay, this is the direction that you need to go into. These are the things you need to do. So anyways, what I'm excited to do is just tell you about what this founder is doing, the things that I saw him doing, and the things that you should be doing, the example that you should be following that he's setting, and how to get your fundraise in the best possible place. Okay, let me look at my list. So the first thing that he did, and he's done, is that he started early. So I started hearing about him and about the fundraise that he was doing, and he was doing all the prep work, trying to line up all the ways that he could get warm introductions into investors. How do I know this? Well, he made the ask, okay? He made the ask, and the way he asked indicated that there would be time, that he would follow up, that he would send me things to make things easier for me. He was doing things in advance so that his actual fundraise could be organized in the best possible ways. So start early yourself too. Don't think I have these months of runway left and cut it to the very last second. The more prep you can do in advance, the better you're going to be. And I know for fellow procrastinators out there, I'm totally a procrastinator. This one is going to be one of the easiest things for you to procrastinate around because, by the way, you have a billion other important things to do. And this work of prepping to fundraise is like the least fun. It doesn't feel like you're pushing your business forward. It's not creative. It's brain damage. And so it just falls into that quadrant of the Eisenhower matrix of extremely important, but not urgent. It feels like it's not urgent, but I want you to remember this, which I always tell people, is that this is the danger zone of the Eisenhower matrix, if you know what that is, the prioritization matrix of when you should do things. It's the danger zone because everyone knows that prepping for your fundraise is extremely important, but their alarm bells are misconfigured and they don't think it's urgent. And the only time, by the time that they realize that it's urgent, it's going to be too late. So follow his lead and start early. What's the next thing? Well, he made it really easy. Remember that if someone is able to give you an introduction,
if they have the connection to the people that you're getting to, the likelihood of this person being, I don't know, a lazy bum that has tons of time on his hands, that his or her hands, and is just ready to do whatever you're asking them to do because they have nothing else on their plates, it's just highly unlikely. So when someone is super busy, it means that you have to make it really easy for them to help. You need to spoon feed them. You need to create a sign up list where you show all the potential investors that he could all. Let me say that again. You have a sign up sheet in Google Docs or in Google Sheets that has all the investors that you could possibly introduce them to and make it really easy to sign up. And then beyond that, if they say that they're going to make an introduction, you help send them a forwardable email so that they have to do very little thinking and emailing the investor asking if they'd be willing to meet with you. There are so many things that you can do, but the main priming thought that you should have is these people are busy. In order to get this help, I need to make it as easy as possible for them. Okay. Third, follow up. Follow up. This is a corollary, a follow-on to the last point of, by the way, these people are really busy. If they don't respond right away, it's not necessarily the fact that they don't want to help. In this case, I was moving around doing a bunch of different things, and I just hadn't gotten to the work of reaching out to these people. And this founder very gently and very respectfully just checked in and was like, hey, following this process here, wanted to make sure that this is something you could do. Gave me a light deadline. And I was like, oh yeah, sure. Didn't know where this should sit in my priority list, but now with this follow-up and this deadline, I understand that I should probably do it today. I'll get it done, right? So follow his lead. He followed up. He did it the right way. And lastly, make sure it's worked into your process, okay? It kind of goes back to this idea of starting early and when to get these things done. But you could tell that he was following a playbook that he had written out. He's, I would call him a disciple of mine. He did learn through what I put out there and teach, but he wasn't just asking, hey, could you make this introduction? It was part of a process. He knew that he had to start asking for these introductions early. He knew that when these people said, yes, I'd be willing to it, he needed to have forwardable emails ready to go. He knew that if he didn't get a response to some of these things, that he would follow up. And he knew that at some point, he would have to activate all of these introductions and start pushing into a process. Okay. So it can't be as simple as, okay, ask a couple people for introductions. You have to think about it holistically. You have to work it into a process and plan. Okay. I hope this is inspiration or a little bit more color into what it means to do the right things to get to calendar density, to run a process that is as effective as it could be. If you have any questions about how to get this done, do reach out. I want to hear your questions. I want to hear what I should be explaining more. But maybe some of the questions that you do have will be answered on the next episode of the Back Channel. So I'll see you then.